Do I have sound?
Me too.
For you.
Do I have sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
My computer earlier told me that it wasn't finding my microphone.
It wasn't looking hard enough.
I guess.
Is Don still playing Farmer Man?
He is. He's still outstanding in his field.
What is he harvesting in November?
Soybeans and then corn.
Really?
Yeah. I
See how
guess.
much I know about these things.
Yeah, me too. He said something a while ago about the crop was kind of late this year.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think his family crops cash, whereas growing up, I grew up on a dairy farm and we had crops to feed the animals.
I know about zero about farming.
Yeah. Hey, you have a yard, right? That counts.
Yeah. The grass turns brown somewhere around July and I stop worrying about it.
Perfect timing when you really get teaching.
Although admittedly, my wife has a garden, but I don't know. She just brings in stuff.
I don't remember what we talked about last week, but Don said he had to edit out a lot of swear words.
Because
Well,
we were
shit.
talking about that cookbook, remember?
Oh, that's right. Now I remember. I couldn't figure out what he was talking about.
Nobody was swearing. We're talking about cooking chickens.
Right. What was he thinking? He's a firm boy. He
Oh,
had to know
no.
about it.
There were a couple swear words in the forward for the cookbook. I don't
Wow.
remember who read the forward, but there were a couple swear words there, I thought.
That was in the
In the Bug Kitchen cookbook.
Bug Kitchen, yeah.
And if he thought those were a lot of swear words, he shouldn't buy that book, because that book, it's like every other word is a swear word. It's crazy.
Well, you know, he's he's putting something that's fairly public out there, so I suppose that matters.
So we should try to work in something disparaging every few minutes so he has to go through everything.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Ron.
How we doing?
I don't want to give up on the nice weather.
Yeah, okay. I don't think you have a choice.
I think I put more miles on my bike in November than I did in July or August.
That's because you didn't have to teach in November.
Hey, I offered to.
Yeah. Huh? No.
I felt guilty over the weekend. It was so nice out. Like, shouldn't we be doing classes?
No.
Will you have cold rolling in there shortly?
Yeah, we're supposed to have snow next week.
Tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah, it's supposed to be about 40 tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yesterday it went from 76 to 35 in 4 hours here.
Yeah,
We've
that's
hit-
all right.
I say the news says we hit 70 like 7 days in a row, making it the warmest November ever on record.
Wow.
But climate change is a hoax.
Mhm.
That's what happens when you leave the climate, Paris climate thing, whatever the hell it is.
Mm-hmm. The Accord.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Dennis. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Laura's not talking. She's just waving her hands like a deaf person. How's your hand there, Dennis? How's the hand, Dennis?
Oh, I gotta wave my hand now.
What did you do? Oh, that's right. You had carpal tunnel surgery.
I get this thing off on Friday, so that's when I start physical therapy.
Good.
I don't know if I could get out and ride anymore, depending on the temperature, but we'll see.
Don't push it, buddy. Don't push it. You'll get there. And oh, by the way, let me see. Which hand is that? Is that the right or left hand? Left hand?
It's on my left hand, but I'm left-handed anyway, so that's
It
my
doesn't
dominant
matter.
hand.
Doesn't matter. You'll have to trade that gold wing in for a real one with DCT.
I don't know if I could afford them because I'm a retired government employee, you know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right.
Clutch is optional if you start downhill.
That's true.
Get it rolling and pop it into gear.
Ask a lot of my students, they never use the clutch.
Right.
Just as if
Actually-
you have a broken clutch cable, right?
Actually, I had one student tell me that in the owner's manual for his bike, it says not to. Like, I'd like to see that.
Well, when I was a kid, I had a dog who would run away frequently, and I would take my dirt bike and go to the neighbor farm where he would run, and I would put him on the seat in front of me at the top of the hill and get rolling down the hill and pop it into gear and ride home hanging onto the dog. Worked. Claire, I don't recall you having been able to join us before. Welcome.
Hi there. Thank you.
You-
Yes, I heard you. Yeah, I just unmuted myself.
Awesome. I haven't been able to join every time, so I lose track of who's been here and who hasn't.
No, I did all the VRETS, but I've never done one of these.
Okay. All right. Are you
Yeah.
comfortable with Zoom?
Yeah, I am.
Good, good. Yeah, we started this back in March or so as an opportunity for people to learn how to use Zoom, because back then none of us really knew. But now I think we're all familiar with all of the online platforms for talking with groups.
Yeah. I'm a teacher. I just retired from teaching in a public school, so I had to end my year with Zoom.
Where are you located?
I'm in New Hampshire,
We're in New Hampshire.
Manchester.
Okay.
Yeah, so I work for the New Hampshire DMV. So Larry Crow is my
I grew up
boss.
outside of Boston and we used to vacation up on Winnipesaukee. So I know
Oh,
this
yeah?
stretch up 93 very well, or
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah, my sister lives on Lake Winnipesaukee.
Do you know which town?
She lives in Laconia, right on,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
she lives right on Paugus Bay.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had a place up in Meredith.
Okay. Yeah, no, I grew up here in Manchester. I did get my training though in Glendale in Arizona at Team Arizona. Because I moved there in 2003. And I got trained there, and then I came back to New Hampshire, and I've been teaching here since.
In Manchester.
But I teach mostly in Concord, so we don't have a range here in Manchester.
I haven't been back that way in a few years.
Where do you live?
In Rochester, New York, Western New York.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, I'm just sitting in the dark, so I don't have my video on. It's dark.
I just got back from my spin class. Nobody wants to see me now. Not even my wife.
Yeah, it's hard to even know who's talking. Well, I guess there's not that many people on.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. It's kind of a free for all on Wednesday
Yeah.
night. Just an opportunity
Okay.
to chat about whatever you want.
All right, thanks.
Here's a question for the group. Any first year coaches like me wrapping up year one of coaching?
You got me beat on the newness scale.
Yeah, I was gonna say this just wrapped up my first season.
And
I
you
want to hear what you
survived.
think about that, Jeff.
You know, there was a lot, I feel good about it. You know, there's definitely some learnings. You know, I almost think, you know, a potential tribe talk would be, you know, words from a newbie. Because I definitely, you know, I mean, it was a great experience. There was good experiences and learning experiences, I guess I would put it. But it was fun. Look forward to next year, and look forward to, yeah, I guess I would just say it was definitely a learning year.
So it sounds like you're volunteering for the December 3rd Tribe Talk.
I would do that. I think it would be fun. I think it would be just a sort of, you know, words from a newbie, just sort of like, you know, interacting with senior coaches and, you know, how it's all kind of fits together.
All right, Rita, you said something about a December 3rd, what?
I think December 3rd is the next Tribe Talk, the Sunday Tribe Talk Don has scheduled, I think. And Jeff, you can't do it wrong.
December 6th probably, because that's a Sunday.
We're 6th? Okay, must be then.
Okay.
I want to say it's the first Sunday in December.
Yeah.
According to my calendar, it's the 6th. Of course,
That
then
would be great.
I'm not guaranteeing my calendar either.
Great, Jeff. You know, we could really learn a lot from you, and you know, we always want to try to be better at everything, including mentoring other folks.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we can talk about that. Put me down, and I'll tell you what, you know, I went through as a new guy, and, you know, love to, you know, find out as you senior folks how you deal with some of the rookies out there.
Shot callers.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I think that we hope to learn from new coaches in exactly the same way as what you're saying you hope for from veterans. I mean, I appreciate first of all, your enthusiasm, because I know you've shown up here and said some awesome things, and I just think that's awesome, and I love hearing it. And what I always try to communicate is I don't think people should ever feel like just because they're new, they don't have something to contribute, and or it's not super appreciated. So I'm totally down with whatever you have to say. And if that includes doing something on December 3rd, then bring it, man. That would be so
Cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear what the new coach perspective is. You don't have to talk about veteran stuff at all.
Yeah, no, definitely as a new, you know, just from my perspective on, you know, what it's like being out. I mean, I remember my, you know, first, you know, I don't want to throw all my content out there, but I certainly remember the first hour of my first class being like, yeah, this isn't for me. But, you know, and now it's like, man, I talked to the owner of the company, and I'm like, you know, do we have any more classes coming up? Put me in. I get this weekend off. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I agree with Lara 100%, much more than, you know, how do we put up with new coaches? I'd much rather know what can we as experienced coaches do to make life better for new coaches? How can we coach you along and build on the enthusiasm that you come in with?
Great. Oh, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely, yeah, I'll get with Dawn and love to, you know, get myself on the agenda for that day.
And you've got a fresh perspective of the curriculum. We've looked at it for a while, you know, and sometimes when you look at something over and over and over, you start to miss key points. And from your fresh perspective, it renews our knowledge, or renews what we know about the curriculum, because you'll bring up things that we may have forgotten about, and it's just great for us to learn and refresh.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, we don't want to talk about, like, I forget, there was a the Wednesday meetings with the RETS meetings. They talked about folks who sort of deviate from the curriculum a little bit by little bit. So, you know, you get a couple of veteran coaches who are like, well, if I just change 2% of the standard over the past 10 years, now they're 20% off of what it would be. And the new guy comes in, you're like, wait a minute, is that how we're supposed to do it?
I will add that I don't think I have ever done a RiderCoach prep where one of the RiderCoach candidates has not come out with something that was just eye-opening and profound and made you go, wow, I never thought of that, you know, because it's just fresh eyes coming in. And that's just good all the way around.
Yep. Oh, cool.
And I know here in New Hampshire, when we have, when there's new candidates, I always like to work with them, or anybody does, because we'll say, hey, what's the latest thing? Like, what did they, like, what did they just teach you? Because what is this year's thing? So it's always valuable that way, because it's all fresh in their minds and it's all new. So you get to find out like how we should be doing things today, as opposed to 5 years ago, you know, when we might have been trained or whatever. How sometimes, like you said, things digress a little bit. So I always kind of grill the new coaches, like, okay, what did Larry say? You know, when did he say to take lunch break? Or what's the thoughts on doing,
Right.
you know, lunch before skills practice or after or whatever, you know? So I always like to work with new coaches to pick their brain on the latest standard operating procedures, shall we say.
Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely.
Well, and as time goes on and the curriculum is applied, we learn better ways to apply it that are still within the standards, especially when this curriculum first came out in 2013 and Wisconsin started transitioning all the coaches at the beginning of 2014. The coaches who were transitioned early got a much different perspective on how to deliver the curriculum than those who were transitioned later. And so when we would go back and visit with coaches who were transitioned early, we'd have to remember, oh yeah, we learned this new thing about the curriculum because it was so new to everyone. And we'd have to remember to tell those early transition coaches about some of the latest and greatest tips and tricks that everyone was learning.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely put me down for that Sunday.
I have already messaged Don, so
Good.
he can
All right.
get out in this field.
Yeah.
Well, those tribe talks on Sunday that when Don has them are really pretty good. I've tried to get to every one of them as I can, as well as the happy hour that we have on Wednesday night where we can BS about being a rider coach. Jeff, how long have you been a coach, if I can ask?
Yeah, so I did, I graduated last November, and in Massachusetts, my training class was in November. So I think I picked it up in March is when, so I think I've done, I just looked at my stats, 14 BRCs and then a couple of IMEs over the summer. So basically this is my first season.
Oh, well, good. Sounds like you've got your feet wet pretty good with 14 BRCs so far.
Yeah, I was really, I'm really into it. And, my kids are, high schoolers and, they don't want me around on the weekends. So I was I'm like almost every weekend, put me in.
Well, that's, you learn from that, but I also teach with another coach that's only been certified last year and a half. And she's given me a couple of perspectives on that. And I'm trying to talk her into, getting hooked up on here in the Tribe Talk Happy Hour, as well as when we eventually go back to having an RiderCoaches, which from my understanding is probably not going to happen until 22, if I remember correctly. Has anybody heard anything different on that one?
And what's an RiderCoaches?
International Rider Education Training Seminar. The last one they had was in Columbus, Ohio last year, and I think it was in October. That was at the downtown Columbus Convention Center, which is very good. It was at the same time as the AIM Expo. And everybody else that's been there, correct me if I'm wrong on this, what this stands for is American International Motorcycle Exposition.
Oh, okay.
And we got free access to the expo itself, but since we were there for the RiderCoaches, and there was, I don't know how many freaking conferences you can go to that last about 45 minutes to 50 minutes.
Yep. That
you learned a lot from those. And I can't remember who all there. I remember Mark being there. Mark actually, I think, hadn't presented a conference there for an hour. I don't remember anybody else that was there. Reedy, were you there?
Oh, yeah.
Did you do something in there?
Yeah, my what's in the words.
Oh, okay. I remember, was it Sarah from Chicago?
Mm-hmm. She
She
does
was-
one on something.
She did a presentation that was very good as well as what you did. Mark's was real good too.
Well, I did a presentation, but Mark and Sarah did good presentations.
Okay, yeah. You're putting that two cents worth in, right, hon? Okay, I see where you're going with that one.
Your what's in the words is a good presentation, Rita.
Hey, I just saw that Mark Weiss is on here. Hi, Mark. Mark trained me in 2003 back in Arizona.
Hi, Claire.
Hi, how are you?
Well, Mark trained
very
me,
good.
Carol Meter, about 2 years ago when we went out there for the BRCU. Right, Mark?
Was it the BRCU?
Yeah, that was at
Oh, right.
Carol
Okay.
Meter and I went out there for the BRCU, and I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. And you had a couple other coaches, one that was from Jersey, and I don't remember the gentleman's name. And the rest of the others, I think, were some coaches that you were updating in your riding academy there.
Oh, okay, right. That was the transitional class. Okay.
Yeah, transitional, I'm sorry. And that was very good. And of course, we got to know how to ride a straight 500 and have a blast with those things.
Yeah, it kind of scraped the bars off of those, as I recall.
Thanks for reminding me of that, Mark, but we had fun doing it.
Yeah, Claire was in a pretty unique class. If I remember correctly, there were like 8 women and 1 guy in your class.
You know, I'm not even sure. It was so long ago. Yeah, I don't remember. I know that there was several military people in it.
Yeah, military, I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought because how when they to work on a base there, they have to be trained or something. I know that there was a couple of military guys. I don't think there was that many of us though, candidates. But even before the prep, I remember I sat in or assisted a bunch of classes. So it kind of started to blend together of like what were the classes that were student teaching and what were ones I just sat in as a student for because I spent a lot of time there.
Oh, okay, that could be.
It was a great
Robin,
facility though.
Hey, Robin, did you get picked up by somebody in New Mexico yet?
I did, and then I didn't. I reached the big dog there who rumor has it he's like whatever. He's cool. He's a nice guy. And he said, yeah, you can coach here, nothing to do. But then his actual coordinator, the next underling, let me know, oh, well, isn't that great? No, you have to do a lot of things. You have to start out as an RC3. And because of COVID, there's really no work to be had because we need to reserve that for the people here who are in need of that work. So I'm just sitting it out. And she has my contact information. I forwarded all my LORs, and that's it.
What state is that, Robin?
That'd be New Mexico.
Did you try Utah?
I think the closer state is going to end up being Texas. I'll end up going to, because I'll be in Las Cruces. So I'll just head down south, cross the border into, I don't know, whatever gets me closest to Tijuana so I can escape. And then I won't see any of you ever again. I'm going to make it out of here, I promise.
We love you
I'll
too,
go
Robin.
to whatever the city, the corner of the panhandle, whatever that is.
Hey, Nicole.
Is Robin's picture in the post office or what?
What's that? Is my
Robin, is your picture in the post office? That's why you're going to escape? Is that it?
It will be soon. I'm trying my best. Just give me time. And you know,
Okay.
It's not in the post office, but it currently is at the Walmart for missing persons.
I have a tendency to distribute my used tires to Walmart trash bins because I just don't like Walmart. Mike Dunn, ladies and gentlemen, another rider coach here.
How are we doing?
You know,
Illinois.
his beard arrives 10 minutes before he does.
That's okay. I'm starting my beard growth since this is November, and I usually get facial hair during the winter months here.
Nice. Well, I don't know if that answers your question though, Rick, but sorry, Chris. director, whoever was asking, it was Chris. I'm exhausted. We've been riding all day, but
That's be nice.
if they have any use for me at all.
Story of your life, huh?
Quick question for everybody, if I may. I just finished this yesterday and Monday, my last class of the season, and the fellow RiderCoach I was teaching with at the time on a compact range, which was 8-2, he's made the comment the fact he thinks towards the end of the riding season in the Missouri area in St. Louis that we get some of the students that, well, Rita's shaking her head. Yeah, I think she knows where I'm going with this, right? That we get some of the, what's a politically correct statement? Okay, the hell with it. Some of the shittiest riders in the world that want to learn how to ride a motorcycle. And,
I don't think that's just in Missouri.
okay, I was going to say, is it other parts of the country?
The ones who are committed, yeah, the ones who really, really want it are standing in line in March and April, and the ones who are kind of like, I don't know, what should I do with the rest of my summer? Although the last couple years, they've been shitty all year, unfortunately.
Well, the thing with this, on this class that I just finished up, I ended up I stepped in to take the place for Carol Mader, who had some family issues she had to deal with. But anyway, the class we had, excuse me. Yes, that is wine I'm drinking. But the class we had is, we thought 3 or 4 of them were going to fail it. It was 8 students. But only one ended up failing, and that was only because on the quick stop, she ran long on stopping. In other words, she didn't stop in what she should have, and ended up being about 14 points just for the 14 feet past the standard. That's what hurt her, but surprised us on that they ended up running, that she ended up running along on getting it done. Otherwise, she would have passed the course, the riding portion, or would have passed the whole thing, actually.
Do different states do the eval differently? Because in New York, even if you go 14 feet long, there's a maximum of 5 points for the quick stop.
That is true, Mike, but with the other points, she had to put her over the top.
Oh, well, okay, there you go then.
You know, I'm sorry. Thanks for reminding me of that one. I forgot about that one, but you're right. Because the score on the evals, you know, there's so many points per eval.
Hey, Dennis, what's the retest policy for end of season?
Retest policy right now in Missouri, there's still 2 more classes at the place I was teaching at that they could come back and do a retest. Actually 3, because she could come back on Thursday or tomorrow and do a retest, as well as this Sunday and the following Sunday, which is the 22nd, which is the last class at this particular dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else in the St. Louis area, to my knowledge, is already shut down.
Yeah.
But in Missouri, they have 30 days to do a retest.
So you let students come back and jump into another class when you're testing and take a retest?
Well, Claire, in Missouri, the requirements on that, they can come back and do a retest, and we tell them approximately what time to show up.
All right.
We let them get in there to do the skill practice again on exercise 14.
Oh, really?
And then, and, you know, when they practice a little bit, then you get into the rest of the class, and we actually put them in the back of the line to keep them separated as a retest, so they can get through it. And in this particular case, the young gentleman we had yesterday, he showed up about 9 or 10, about 10 o'clock in the morning, because we were out on the range first thing on the second day, and we got him in. He came in on the first part of the skill practice, did some little skill practice. Once we brought the other part, the class in to finish up, we let him run another couple laps on the practice, and then we put him in at the back of the line for the skill eval. And he did good. He passed.
So you can obviously only have them join the skill practice if you have less than 12 people in your class, right?
Well, yes, I agree with you, but in this particular case, this was a compact range. And
Okay.
we had, the max we could have there was 8 students, but we had 7 in this case because one of the students for Tuesday, yesterday, showed up 10 minutes late. We couldn't let him in as the policy in the state of Missouri. I mean, it could be the same in other states too, but anyway.
Yeah.
This guy, Don
He
here's
was able to get in and do the testing or the retest, and he passed. Robin's making faces at me.
I'm not. This guy keeps interrupting me. He's trying to figure out how to ask a question. He's about to palm the keyboard like a horse.
I'm not going to palm like just.
But anyway, that's how it works in Missouri for retesting, Claire. Or whoever asked me the question, I don't remember.
So I know different programs are different things, and that's one thing that I've been able to separate. Like when I work for Harley Davidson, we cordially invite our students to come back. So long as we have room in the class, we're going to make room for them versus the state of Illinois. So sometimes we'll invite them back to start with day 1. Sometimes we'll invite them back to start with day 2, so long as we have a room in class. Move forward.
And I find that exciting.
Yeah. I didn't catch all of what you said, but it's sounds good to me, you know.
Illinois used to have no max points on the quick stop. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty much everywhere.
It's 5 points is the max.
Okay. It used to be, even though MSF had a max, Illinois did not.
Yeah, that was a requirement by the Secretary of State, and then they have since lifted that requirement since we're using a standardized test. We're basically using the same score standard that the Secretary of State uses.
Claire, I just remembered, I think it was you who said earlier, it's challenging sometimes to figure out who's talking. If you bring up the participants list, from what I can tell, it bumps whoever's talking to the top of the list.
Okay.
Or
I know how sometimes you can have speaker view and that person gets larger. So I was trying to figure that out, but could be because I'm on my iPad, not a computer.
Okay.
You can swipe on your configuration right or left, and it'll change the configuration of the video layout as well.
Mm-hmm.
On mine, the speaker is outlined.
Yeah.
There's like a highlighted outline around, a box around the person that's speaking.
Yeah, but then if they're on the next page, you don't see them, but it's all right.
Well, sometimes with that, it brings that person talking up to the front of the page on the speaker, as well as the videos up on top where I have it, where it shows them where they're at.
So to go back to your point about having students who are late in the season students, this was the first year I worked really late in the season here in New Hampshire. But we had so many, because of COVID, we started late. And so they usually don't keep a waiting list, but we had a 200 person waiting list for most of the year. We couldn't train everybody. So I think that the people we got at the end of the season weren't the typical duds, let's say, that they usually are. It was people who honestly signed up in June, but didn't get in until November, just because that's the way it happened this year with COVID. And we had an explode, like we had just as many people who wanted to be trained. And we even added an extra day. We added a Thursday class, and we still couldn't train everybody who wanted to be training. But that being said, we also had more no-shows this year than ever. So they'd send out multiple letters to people who are in a future class saying, just show up in the morning because there's a 80% chance that you'll get in because someone's not going to show up.
Or sometimes that happens in a lot of classes, but then again, if you have somebody that shows up, did they already pay for the class, or is there a charge for the class where you're at in New York or wherever it's at in New Hampshire?
No, I'm in New Hampshire. No, they've already paid for it. So this is people who have already signed up, and like, let's say they signed up in June and they're scheduled for a class at, November 7th. They can go to any class between June and November with their letter saying that they have a spot in that November class, and try to just hang out and wait and see if somebody doesn't show up and get into that class. If they haven't done the e-course because they weren't prepared, we're fine with that. We'll let them go because we'll just have them do it that night. But sometimes they'll try to call the night before. But sometimes they've already done the e-course because they just want to be ready. But even if they haven't, we kind of relax the e-course thing. We don't give them their completion card on day 2 until we see proof of e-course. But if they haven't done it the first morning, unless they're like totally clueless or danger or slowing everyone down, you know, because they're not doing basic things, we let them in anyway.
How long after the in-person course is complete do they have to bring the e-course in?
They have, I don't know. What we do is we hold, that's the office does that. You know, I'm just a parking lot peon, you know. I just do the things out in the parking lot. So that's a question when they're like, well, how much longer do I have? I'm like, call the office, because they're the people who tell you that stuff. But I don't know. It's only happened once this year that I had somebody who didn't produce it on Sunday either. He said that he never got the email from MSF. It was all the usual excuses. And then on day 2, he had a classic one that my boss actually printed and hung on his wall. He said that he moved, and so he lost his email because he moved. You know how that happens. Those boxes of emails don't get on the truck. Yeah.
Right. They don't. Exactly. Right. Didn't get packed up right.
Or could you just say how that all works from a coach perspective? Like, are the logistics of handling those walk-ins like a pain in the butt for you all?
No,
or does that seem
no,
like it
not
goes
at all.
okay?
No, it's totally fine. We've always taken standbys. That's a policy we've always had. Even if somebody, you know, has a class, because, you know, here in New Hampshire, we start accepting applications in February, early March, and we start usually teaching the first week of April. But this year it was pushed off till the 3rd week of May. So we were 7 weeks behind. So that's a lot of people to start off behind. But no, it's not a problem. They just arrive and they have their letter for a future class. And so we put that into the course paperwork. We write them in as a write-in. Obviously, you know, we typically wait till 10 past 8 on the first day before we rule out somebody who's on the list. So if, you know, my number 12 student arrives at 8:09, I don't say, oh, too bad, we're taking this stand-in instead. Like, I'll take the person who was on the roster first. But if it's 8:15, the stand-in is in and that person who's 15 minutes late is out, you know? It doesn't usually come down to that, though. Typically, the person who's not showing up doesn't show up. So it works fine. And sometimes the people we've had as a stand-in are the best students because they're motivated. So
Do you administer a written test?
we do. Yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
the
so-
level 1, level 2, or what?
It is level 2. So we were full level 2, okay, until COVID. This year, of course, everything's different. So we were full level 2 classroom, level 2 test. So we did all the interactive, you know, the ruler drop, the slides. We transitioned to that 2 years ago, I think. So yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. So last year we had just all kind of gotten the hang of it, like, hey, this is what's the next slide's going to be. And that's how we do this. And then this year COVID happened and we completely changed the curriculum just for COVID purposes. So we do an abbreviated classroom Saturday morning. And then we go outside and we don't go back in the classroom until Sunday afternoon for the written test. So yeah, we do the riding test and go inside and do the written test.
That sounds
But
like
we're not, so what's that? So New Hampshire, when I was trained in Arizona, we would, you know, we were DMV people, like we would actually give them their license. In New Hampshire, it's not. The only thing that we're giving them as a rider coach is a course completion card, which exempts them from taking a road test with an examiner at the DMV. So we don't actually give them their license. We just give them the exemption of having to take a road test and a written test. So I'm not sure how that compares to other states, but I know Arizona was a little different.
Sounds like the same as New York.
Okay.
Well, as a lot of people know in the St. Louis area, and especially us, most of the classes in St. Louis did not start back up until at least May or June, if not August. But it depended on the location because of COVID-19. And now, unfortunately, it looks like the numbers are going back up. So who knows what's going to happen in the next month or two.
Hey, Rita,
Yes.
you know Robert, don't you?
Robert Williams.
Yeah.
I have met him at the conference, but that's all I know of him.
Friday is his last day.
Oh.
He was voluntold of another position.
Is he moving to a different position then, or is he retiring? He's young, isn't he?
He is retired chief of police.
Okay.
And he worked in our investigations unit, and the supervisor director of that unit asked him to do something while he was still there, kind of co-working between the two units. And they basically said, hey, we like what you wrote up as your proposal. We want you to run it. So you're going to run this unit now.
So what are you trying to tell me? I'm supposed to apply for the job or what?
No, if you're interested, there's going to be an opening at some point.
Okay, Reed, does that mean you're going to be in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois, Coach?
No.
You're going to get around, lady.
Yeah, I get around. I got a good gig going with my current job. I don't need to get rid of that. I was teleworking before teleworking was popular.
Well, that's okay. A lot of people do that. My sister does that. She works from home. She had been working from home 2 days a week before this started. She enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work, so it doesn't matter.
We had our house all set up for telework for years. My wife used to work for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they had all these requirements set up for her to work, and had done that for like 6 or 7 years prior to COVID.
Yeah, and unless I have a work meeting, I can adjust my schedule and teach weekday classes, whatever I need to do, as long as I keep my customers happy and get my job done. I can flex my hours, work from where I want. It's kind of hard to beat that.
Well, Rita, I agree with you, because when I was working for the federal government where I worked at, we could have a flexible work schedule. As long as we put our 80 hours a week in per pay period, we'd pretty much be left alone. Of course, sometimes we had to do certain things because I worked for the Department of Defense. So you know how that could go.
That sounds like self-employment, Rita.
Here that knows how that can go. When you say you know how that can go, you know, CIA had the section of the Pentagon.
What?
You know how that could go.
What?
Are you talking about me working at DOD, Robin? What is that, man?
Department of Defense. I'm like,
DOD?
nobody is that what DOD is?
DOD is Department of Defense.
Yeah,
DOT,
I know.
DOT,
That's what I heard. I heard
I
him
think
say,
I'm getting harassed here now.
"This is why you need your own account." Now I'm gonna have to put your name on the freaking screen. I'm sorry.
All right, kids, stop the fighting.
Hey, I can't complain. I bitched about the whole job for 35 years, but I ended up getting a decent pension for it. So I'm enjoying life as it is right now and playing around teaching motorcycle safety classes. Beggars can't be choosers. Is that right, Robin?
I was, rhetorical agreeing.
Yes, nod and smile, nod and smile. Just look pretty and nod and smile.
Give him my best go. I see Kelly Howard down there. Hi, Kelly Howard. We're still working on picking a topic to give a presentation on, I think, at some point, which I'm having a lot of fun with, actually. So.
Presentation for where?
I don't know. We talked about that a couple episodes ago where we all talked about doing like our own independent little VRETS discussion panel type thing. And Kelly Howard and I were talking about getting into it a little bit. if we can come up with a plan. And so far it's, ideas are feeding to other ideas or feeding to other ideas, but really I just want his wisdom to kind of lead the way, and I'll just ride the coach and figure it out as I go.
Yeah, I'll stick my neck out. I'll be willing to do a presentation, but I don't know what the hell subject matter I could do it on. And what are you drinking, Robin?
Whatever this guy makes me, whatever he orders up in. Right now we're drinking gin and tonic.
Okay.
Got some really good high-end gin from Dripping Springs.
I got a glass of wine, so I'm okay. If this is what we do on the Tribe Talk Happy Hour, I'd hate to see what happens when we have an IRETS again. What bar are we going to meet up there?
Kelly, sometimes I surf around looking for, I'm kind of a conference junkie, looking around for conferences and professional development in other states. And I had run across one in Texas, I think in January, and it may be off now. And I want to say it's mainly a RiderCoach conference. Anything you're familiar with?
I think all that's done right now. We switched from the DPS. Texas Department of Licensing and Resources is taking over now, and it's a whole new game. All that stuff is off.
Okay.
It's the game is actually really vague down here too now. Wouldn't you say, Kelly? It's like, I mean, it feels a lot more relaxed. You know, when I came down here to get trained, it was very stringent, and I was really happy to meet Kelly because he put me quite at ease. That helped a lot. Thank you again. But then I came back, you know, next season or this season, I get down here and everything is a lot more up in the air. Nobody's getting answers from people other than, well, what does the MSF curriculum state? Okay, good luck. You got it. Go ahead and do your thing, which I guess is kind of nice.
Hey, one thing I've learned last several months is keep up to date and knowing what's in the RCG. Because with what Don has said in previous Happy Hour Tribe Talks, as well as Tribe Talk themselves, knowing what's in the RCG, plus what Dr. Ray has done on the VRETS that he's gone through, to me has been very helpful. I've attended as many of them as I could.
We could talk about that. So I had a hard class this past weekend. I would say that it was a lot of good students and only one didn't pass. And that non-passing student has become a complaint, which I'm kind of bummed out about. But
well, Robin,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Robin was somebody that fails the test, and this is my opinion for what it's worth. If they felt they should have passed, they're going to complain about anything and everything and nitpick the whole darn thing. You know, I've learned that over the years since I've been teaching.
And I guess, yeah, I won't throw that comment out. You know, that's pretty solid. But at the same time, I look back at how the entire event went. They always met. I witnessed a student meet the objective repeatedly and fairly consistently. And then they had this whole compartmental section of their own brain where they would completely abandon what they knew for something significantly more stressful, hyperventilating, inability to, like the fatigue was just threw all the knowledge out. It wasn't cup too full. It was cup walked away from for moments in time, you know? And when the test came, they just dumped the cup on the ground and just, you know, pooped all over themselves the entire test. And they did not make it.
That as well.
Yeah, so I explained it to them, and it became a thing that thing's a little bit awkward, but I don't know. I'm putting that out in the air just to give people things to talk about, because that.
Well,
you wrote
that
better in practice than you did on your test.
Say it again.
You wrote better in practice than you did on your test.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss how, gee, you know, you were doing X, Y, and Z, the test came and you tanked. And what can we do next time to, you know, if there's a retest opportunity, what can we do next time to be more successful, you know, on the retest? And sometimes it's the reverse. You rode awesome in practice and you did poorly on your test, you know, to kind of give it some perspective on, you know, so it's not just you passed or you failed, but they can see it.
This guy wants to say a thing. I don't know what it is.
So like my first time ever lead coach in Illinois, I had, this is back, I think BRC 2013. So we did the double U-turns. We had them all lined up. Guy came in, did the first left, didn't turn the fuel valve out on the motorcycle. Okay. Coast through the left, all of a sudden turns the fuel, bike runs out of gas. Coast through, centers it up, turns the fuel valve back on, pulls the clutch in, starts the bike, and then finishes the right. No feet on the ground.
What's your point?
You know, so sometimes you get like people that are great at taking tests and then people that are horrible at tests.
Oh yeah, no, this kid tested garbage.
So my analogy for the test is it's like getting your picture taken. All we can do is take a snapshot of how they ride at that moment. We can't take into consideration the picture that would have been taken 10 minutes ago or yesterday. And sometimes you take a better picture than how you've looked all weekend. And sometimes you take a worse picture than how you looked all weekend. And sometimes your picture looks just like you thought it would. And it's always up to the student to figure out, does your picture reflect how you looked all weekend?
Yes, sometimes the picture is how we thought it looked. You know.
Let me say, so Lynn, I used both of your wordings actually, and it's something that I've heard Rita say it several times. So the two things I said was, based on what I watched, I mean, you met objectives all weekend. I see the rider that you have the potential to become, and I do believe that if you revisit the curriculum, if you come back to take this class again, that you are going to eventually successfully obtain your license, and that you should be confident in what you know. And also this test is, I said that, so that would be to Lynn's credit. And then to Rita's credit, I said, this test is just a snapshot in time. Sorry. I said, this test is just a snapshot in time, and that, you know, you shouldn't beat yourself up too much about it, but he did definitely have test fatigue.
Yeah. So, you know what, I heard a great expression from a fellow rider coach, and I think it was last year, when students will say, well, you've seen me do it so well, so many times, you know, but then that one time I didn't do it right. So I don't think that I should be based on that particular moment because I was stressed out, like I was under scrutiny. So this fellow rider coach said, when you're riding a motorcycle, you are always under scrutiny. Like it's a test every minute that you're on the road, you know, whether it's staying on the road and not getting hurt. And this is a woman coach who said it, and we were both teaching class. And so it was a woman student too. And I said, especially being a woman, I said, whenever you pull up to an intersection or any place, even a regular motorcycle, everyone looks at the bike, but even more so a woman. I said, so you're going to be scrutinized every second that you're out there on your motorcycle. So if you can't handle the scrutiny here in this parking lot with like the two coaches that you've known for 2 days and these other 11 people, like it just means you're not ready for the scrutiny out there, and you could get hurt or die. So, you know, like motorcycling is a test, like it is a test. So to say, oh, why don't you just give me my license because you saw I could do it? It's like, well, if you can't handle this pressure of 12 people in a parking lot, you're not going to, you can't handle, like, you're going to get hurt, you know? So I thought that was a good way to kind of put the emphasis on, because people are like, well, I ride fine, I just don't test well. Well, it's a test every minute you're out there. So that's that's the line I go with now.
So here's a quick question, and it sounds like this rider wasn't even close, but what about subjectiveness around, you know, tie goes to the runner, right? Somebody comes in on a quick stop and they're at 1 point, you know, what was it, 1.15 is the max, I forget. I mean, do coaches look at that and say, you know, tie goes to runner, benefit of the doubt goes, maybe my finger was a little slow on the stopwatch?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I know when I was late on a time click and said, okay, fault me. That's fine. And there's always room. I mean, it's well known that there's room for, what's the word I'm looking for? Not bending any rules, but there's room for.
So you're saying a 116 on the time when.
Yeah, let's say it's a 116, and maybe I was a little slow on hitting it. But and I know this is a great rider or a strong rider.
Right. Well, it's weird you say that, because only 2 of the riders got up to 20 to 25 miles in friggin' eval 5. And I scolded all of them as I handed them their waivers. Like, I don't like any of you. I hate your faces. You're ridiculous. Here you go. And they all laughed. And I was like, no, I really.
How far off were they on that time?
The what?
Robin, how far were they off on the time on the eval 5?
I got one at like 4.86 seconds.
Oh, okay, that much, huh? Okay.
No, no, that's walking the bike. That's like jumping off the bike and letting it coast. No, it was.
There you go.
I counted a couple where it was a second or less, right, for the straightaway, and they just didn't make it. I'm a drummer, so my time is horrible. So I was like, I can't keep time for shit. But I was like, click, click, and nobody was within a millisecond. It was all like 1.1, 1.05.
Right.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking of the prior curriculum. I had somebody that was like 4.8 seconds or something through the curve. And it's like, I don't even know if I could go that slow.
Like, extra credit for going that slow.
And maintaining balance. That's the trick right there.
Is that like running a clutch control lane or something?
Yeah, right. I'm like, I guess I could get them for the decel on the old curriculum, but
I find that if you address the part of the course, what you need to do to pass, and here in New York there is an opportunity to retest, and so I tell them, if you mess up on your test, there's an opportunity to retest, and if you mess up, it's likely because you need some more practice. So, don't view your first test as the end all. If you need more practice, we'll help you get more practice before you do your retest. And the retest success stories are pretty strong. And that way, when people do fail, you can, lots of times they know, but other times they don't. You say, I know this is a disappointment, but there's some areas where you really could use some more practice, and let's schedule a time where we can, arrange for you to get some more practice and do your retest. And, most people are okay with that. Most of the times they know, sometimes there's that little bit of resistance, but obviously it's a huge disappointment to them. So if you can stress the self-assessment aspect of our chart, and throughout the course, talk about the self-assessment, when they are not successful at the end, it's usually easy for them to swallow.
That's picture retake day. I seem to find that students who come back and retake the class tend to be much more relaxed and learn more the second time because they know what's going to happen. There's no nervous anticipation of, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. They know the entire day, and so they totally focus on their learning because that piece is taken out of the picture, and they seem to do so much better, not just because they're getting more practice, but because of the anxiety reduction.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And, I'm familiar with the whole, snapshot in time. Yeah, this is.
We're all waiting with bated breath while Robin's froze up.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was my end or sometimes I get bandwidth issues.
I was like, I'm testing my signal in the car.
I was going to say another setup thing that I kind of do is before the test, or I don't even use the word, I just say, celebration of skills. But I do say there's no guarantee of passing, and it kind of is what it is. It's a point system. We'll talk about it later, but it's not the end of the world. If it isn't a successful score, we have options, and we'll talk about those options. And it just kind of sets it up, I think.
Hey, Josh, I wanted to ask you something. And I don't know. I didn't want this to be rude. I know we were just chatting about it a little bit. I had a question for you. First, I wanted to say I'm really sorry to hear about your loss. I don't know if you guys talked about that already, but I was curious about. I heard a friend of mine say recently something he did that I've never done. I was wondering, did you ever take your mom on a ride, on a motorcycle ride?
I did probably twice. She wasn't the biggest fan of motorcycles just because she's always been worried about my safety. But she has been out on the Goldwing, because I had the nice backrest and the armrests, and I think she enjoyed it.
Nice. And did you ever catch the glimpses of this? I get the same thing. First off, I'm sorry for your loss, man. I'm so sorry. And I remember, losing my dad, but I was just thinking about how, you get those glimpses of a concerned mother where they try to support in the thing that you love to do. Do you have any favorite phrases you would catch in the window of like, that's a positive, where she was like, hey, have fun, any of that with riding? Because I know
definitely. And anybody that she ever met that rode motorcycles, she encouraged them to take rider training or continual rider training. She's very proud of what I did, and she'd show them, pictures of me riding, and just be one of the biggest advocates for anybody that she'd run into on a motorcycle. Like, hey, my son, does this. So she was a good fan club in that regard. But thank you, Robin.
I hope you don't mind that. I wanted to make sure I asked you that because it caught me diagonal on Facebook.
I was like,
and I wish you well and rest in peace.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a tough week.
Josh, same to you. My sympathies to you, my young man.
I've got the gin going, so I'll raise the glass too.
There you go. Yeah, I got the Sam Adams. So.
Oh, that's a terrible beer, Josh.
Hey, I'm from I'm from Boston.
Have you seen the October? Have you seen the
Well,
October?
Boston's got Sam Adams.
What was his name? Who's that comedian? He's Bostonian. Who we were just watching the other.
Hey there.
Hold on, stop. The comedian we were watching on thing the other day. Bill Burr. You're welcome. From SNL, the Oktoberfest Sam Adams thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Y'all got really
Well,
earthy words. That's awesome.
That somebody say something.
I'll say something. Hey, good evening, guys. Sorry I'm not on camera tonight. I've been riding all day myself, and I was mostly in the rain, and so I'm not very Zoom presentable. But I was gonna ask a question tonight, and also Josh, my sympathies. Okay, have any of you guys ever done past student rides, as in like you get students together from like the past year, the past 6 months, what have you, and put together a little ride for them, that you lead, and take them somewhere, like lead them, we call them a rage, a ride and go eat, but anybody ever put one of those together, and how did it go?
Belinda, I've never done the student ride with previous students in my class. Never had the opportunity. At least if they did do it, they didn't notify me. Take that for what it's worth. Never had that done before, but I know a lot of my previous students have gotten together after the fact and done some BSing and possible riding.
Belinda, that's a definite no. Biggest problem is liability. Whenever even when you go for a group ride, you have to be careful as a rider coach what you observe and what you try to give to people. And when they know you're a rider coach, they always say, "Oh, or what can I do? What can I do?" And it's like, okay, take a course.
What do you mean? What do you mean? They're asking, what can I do? What can I do? Now, these are like your students.
Yeah, even if you're, even if it's former students or if you go for a group ride, they're always going to want to know, what can I do better? What did I do? You know, they really don't want to know what they did wrong, but they want to know what they could do better. And you have to be careful with what you tell them, because you could be telling them the best thing on earth, and they go out and try something, and they fall down and go boom, and then there's a problem. Sorry, my girlfriend is talking to me.
Mhm.
Hey, Rita, Mike says he'll be in Wisconsin next week.
Actually, I'll be in Wisconsin on Friday.
I won't. Thank goodness.
Just don't order anything from Amazon then. I'm not driving to Michigan.
I don't order anything.
So there.
If I can't find it in the dumpster, I don't need it.
This sandwich looks perfectly good. Is that peanut butter and ham? I'll be in this corner.
Hey, when I was growing up, my aunt worked somewhere that there was a Walgreens or something next door, and we got all our vitamins and aspirin and everything from the dumpster at Walgreens. It was all expired, but it worked.
I have recently been among many company of the same sort. Yeah. So we stopped at Coda today. I didn't mention that, but he made it happen.
Yeah, I wanted to see the sign that said Circuit Day Americas.
There is no sign that says Circuit Day Americas.
Circuit Day Americas.
There's no such place.
I mean, words.
Oh,
words. They're hard.
No, keep going.
No,
Kelly, I'm really sorry.
Welcome to Cirque du Soleil America, huh? Yes.
There was not a circus there.
Kelly, you've got some distance between you and them, don't you?
I'm feeling this jazz. I'm feeling it. Wait, what? What?
I was feeling sorry for Kelly. I'm hoping that he's got some distance between you and him.
There's, between him and Mike? Absolutely.
Between him and both of you all.
No, unfortunately, my magnetism is consistently trying to reel Kelly Howard in my general direction so I can better my knowledge and go riding and get my foot in the door with other things and actually discuss a topic for possible VRETS. I don't know if it was VRETS. It was something. I don't know what's going on, but it was a fun thing to think about doing. And just coming up with a topic is fun, really. Did anybody else try to do this so far? Is anybody else thinking about like making discussion?
I put a link for that Texas motorcycle safety thing in the chat. Maybe you could do a 3-minute video, the 3-minute thesis that Don wants to create a library of.
Has anybody done one? Does anybody have anything for that?
We all have something. It's just a
Okay,
matter.
let's hear it, Rita.
Wait, a library of what?
Of your knowledge.
A 3-minute thesis. He took some information from some of our happy hours and clipped it together into just a 3-minute nugget for rider coaches. And that's what he's hoping, is that we'll all do some little quick 3-minute videos, suggestions about whatever trips your trigger for advice to other rider coaches.
Wow.
I'm going to go with this. A master trains while teaching others. You know, I learn from every class.
Wait, you expect? I'm not on the spot. Ain't no pressure. I got time. I got tons of time. I'm here I'll be here every week, folks.
I'm not.
And I got jokes. And yeah, no. Well, you will be. You should be. I mean, I think that. Wow. Don't take it personal is going to be a thing that I get into. Don't ever take it personal. Whatever it is, when a student can't figure out what the hell you're trying to say, or they're looking at the sky while you're reading the instructions. You literally walk them through the path of travel, and they have no memory of that. They should just go straight and make the left, then go diagonal, then make the right. It's not diagonal and then right, and then go to the freaking convenience mart and pick up lunch. It's not that, you know. Don't ever take somebody's sense of pressure personally. That would be one that I need to get into. And why? If you're going to pick a topic, pick one that you have an issue with. You know, if you're going to come up with 3 minutes about, well, here's something that, oh, that fell out of the sky, let's talk about that. No, it's got to be one that really, really gets to you. I'm going to do that because I take it personally that I'm standing here reading these instructions, and if you don't get this next exercise at least once, I'm going to burn your house. It gets really personal really quick. Like, please, love of God, listen one time, just once. But it's okay.
There's validity to doing something like that because you have to defend your position or you end up disproving your position.
I know that what you just said was right. I don't know what you just said though, and I did hear all of it. I just don't know how to comprehend that wording, but I'll try. If you repeat yourself, please.
If you have to explain yourself, you need to understand what it is you're trying to explain at a deeper level. So sometimes when you take something that really gets you cranked up and you do a little bit of research to either try to defend why you're right in being cranked up, you may find information that helps you realize a different perspective and keeps you from getting cranked up.
I absolutely agree. Now I do understand. Thank you for that. I do.
But you can't ride the motorcycle for that.
That's good. That's true. But we've tried.
I think a lot of the tip things could be even 1 minute, you know, just little throwaways. I mean, 3 minutes almost sounds like a dissertation, you know. And about don't take it personal, you know, going back a curriculum. I had a student to go through the whole lane change exercise, stop, make the turn, do the weave, go back. Then they came through and did the swerve, and we're in part 2 of the swerve, and she swerves and she stops and she says, "Where do I go now?" And it's like, you know, head explodes. How do you not know where to go now? You just did it a dozen times. So yeah, don't take it personal. Some people, the elevator just doesn't go all.
The example that Don put on his website, and I put the link in the chat, was 2.5 minutes, and that includes his explanation for it. So you're right, Lynn, it doesn't take very long to make that one point. But when you think about our attention span these days, and, you know, taking things in small doses, like eating an elephant, it's easier to do when it's one bite at a time rather than trying to eat it all at once. Getting that information in small doses sometimes is more palatable.
Easier for people to fit it into their schedules too. You know, if you say someone, here, sit down and watch this lecture for an hour, it can be intimidating. But if it's here, sit down for 10 minutes and pick up a couple of tips, it's easier to take in.
I like that. I like that. And not to change the topic, but something reminded me of my observation with Kelly last year. Kelly, do you happen to remember? You can nod your head on this one. Do you remember the coach that I was paired up with for that observation? The guy that was like from Louisiana, right? I swear to God, I could not understand a word this man said. And he had the most heavy Creole accent you could imagine, and he would read the cards. Get your hands. He would read the cards just like, he was just like, "All right, go down the military there. Hey, ha ha." And then he would giggle, and it was exactly what you expected, you know, like crawfish.
That was Sam Watkins, and he got his house hit twice by 2 major hurricanes this year.
I don't like that. There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to make it because that's awful. I'm sorry. That's terrible.
Louisiana got slammed this year with hurricanes.
Didn't they get 5 back to back?
I can't remember. There was, I think, Lara that went through that got him first. I mean, got everybody up there. And then another one 6 weeks later took the same path.
Yeah, my sister-in-law came for the first one, came over to Alabama, and then the second time around, they're down in the Lake Charles area. And they all had to, and the second time they went over to Texas, over to your way actually, in Houston. And so my family's I'm from Benton originally. And Robin, it's funny you talk about the accent, because I think since the very first tribe talk, I always thought, and I never said this, so Josh, I'm gonna say this tonight. I would love to coach with you for one weekend just so I can hear you talk all weekend. I absolutely love your accent. Josh, yes. I love the Boston accent. Like being from the South, and like when I lived in Minnesota that one year, I have a habit of picking up accents sometimes. And when I came home, my parents were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so Yankee." But I'm like, no, but I need to go to Boston and live there for a while just so I can talk like them. So
Linda, why
ever since the very first Tribe Talk, I wanted to coach with Josh just so I could listen to talk for the entire weekend.
Belinda, I don't know why you said that. That'll go to Josh's head now.
Yeah, and isn't it Boston?
I love it. I love the Boston accent.
I flew through
Wrong with
Logan.
New York.
New York. Oh, y'all. I'll say that's something. I don't know if you guys know Kim, because Kim Hunt was one of my HD trainers, and that all y'all, that's what she picked up from us. When she come down here and spend a week, she was like, wait a minute. All you're saying is all you all. And I'm like, no, we're saying all y'all. And she's like, no, you're saying you all. And I'm no, we're saying you all.
Yeah, but you know what I love about all y'all? It's a way to refer to the group without and still be gender neutral. Because like I don't like to say you guys because I'm not always talking to guys, and some people take offense to that. So I say all y'all because it means everybody.
Y'all is singular, all y'all's plural.
It's just like over there and over yonder. There's a big difference in over there and over yonder. So put your bike over here, over there, which means you can see it. When I say put it over yonder, that means go put it over there because we're getting ready to end the day. And so
I was doing a prep. I was doing a prep with Miriam Romay, and one of the things she says a lot is "yay," and one of the things I say a lot is "grr." And so we found that by the end of the prep, she was going "grr" and I was going "yay," and that has persisted to this day. So you could very well pick up Josh's accent if you went and taught with him for a week.
We could be like foreign exchange students. We could go hang out with each other and pick up different dialects and local ways to explain things.
I'll tell you, I was a French major, and one of my French professors had studied abroad in France, and he said that he was walking down the street and a guy was bent over the hood of his car fixing something. He said, so he thought, oh, this is an opportunity for me to learn some car words. So he says, I bent over the hood and I'm asking him, well, what's this called? And I'm writing it down. I said, what's that called? And I'm writing it down. And, I got all these car parts and I went back to my dorm, he says, and I'm looking them up in the book. And, I look up what he wrote down and he told them all BS names. What's this? Oh, that's a thingamabob. That's a whatchamacallit. This is a whoozy what's this. And he just totally BS'd him through all the car parts. It was useless, but it was a pretty good story.
It's like telling somebody that their Henway is broken, and when they ask what's a Henway, about 8-10 pounds.
that was a good one. I'm totally still in that one.
My dad was in the military in Germany, and when I was growing up, he was teaching me all these German words, and now I have asked people who are from Germany or speak German well, and they're like, yeah, there's nothing in the German language that sounds anything like that. So he was making stuff up as well.
So about the French thing, Lynn, my So like I said, I am from the very deep south of Louisiana. And so my grandfather, we used to call him Papa Whitey, very, very Cajun French. I mean, all of that. And my stepfather was from Switzerland. So, and my mom and stepdad got married when I was like 4 or so. But when his parents came over, I still remember I was probably about 10 years old, and his parents came over from Switzerland to visit. And like he was having to translate French to French from one grandparent to the other, because the Cajun French is there's so much slang and in it compared to what the Swiss French, which is even different than French, and you know, those kind of French. And I still to this day remember being and just laughing because I had my stepdad translating French to French, and it was just so great, and talking about dialect and those kind of things.
So apparently the same thing is true in Montreal, in Quebec. There's a very different dialect of French there.
Yeah, that's true. I'm from New Hampshire, and my parents are all from Canada, you know, all my relatives. And when I grew up, at school, I took French, but it was Parisian French. So we learn about exactly how they speak in Paris. And I come home and talk to my parents, and they're like, what's this crap they're teaching you at school? That's not French. They're like, I can't understand you. And it made no sense, because we're learning about the provinces of France and their exports and imports and all this bullshit. And we live 3 hours away from Canada. It's like, why aren't we learning about Quebec instead of France? So it's just a different language.
So last night, the two of us, yesterday, I'm sorry, I'm just throwing words out to keep things moving and talk. Yesterday, we went riding. Mike here is in Texas for a short time, and we went to ride the Three Sisters, which is like 3 particular routes, particular roads out by Kerrville. But the way to get there was closed, so we got lost.
Best time ever.
Best time ever, just getting lost trying to find your way to the start. And like, I was updating Instagram with all our followers or whatever, you know, telling people, hey, if you're trying to get away for so yeah, riding the roads, they go to the Three Sisters and try to figure out a way to get to the start of them. Anyhow, sun's going down, and last night, fully sober, we rode 336 near Kerrville in the dark. If you're looking for a good time, I don't recommend it. That's a lot of deer. That is an impressive number of deer. So 25 miles an hour. I wished I was on a push bike. I wished I was on a pedal bike the entire time. Squirrel. I don't know.
Squirrel.
There's always these uncomfortable
You
silences.
suck.
Squirrel. Did you say Tucson or you suck? I couldn't tell.
I said deer suck. They're
Deer.
all over the place. Riley. I mean, they are just everywhere.
Deer are delicious. Venison, yummy.
And
we need
they are a big concern. A big concern. Cars and bikes.
Lynn, is that
Here's
a New York accent or a Boston from Josh? I'm not sure. When Robin said you suck, I don't know what that meant.
I couldn't tell if she said deer.
I said deer suck.
Deer suck.
Okay.
Deer suck. Not happy with the deer population. I came out of my house the other day. One was standing in my driveway. And I live, I don't live in the forest or anything. I live in the village. So anyway.
So here's a fun topic. On your way to work this summer, like whenever you've been driving, what are the strange things you've seen on the side of the road? I mean, I've seen deer carcasses, but a couple of strange things I saw, and this is riding. So I have a 2001 BMW R1200C, the James Bond bike,
That's
and so I
crazy,
never.
but I've got the RS.
What's that?
Yeah,
No, the R1200C, the James Bond bike,
It's a great bike, and I've got
I
the
love
RS.
Machine guns?
So, but I never upgraded the headlight because I don't like to ride it at night. But now since I work so late in the season, I'm going to work in the dark. So, you know, when I leave at 6 a.m. here and drive to Concord, it's pitch dark. I mean, moon, stars. I'm looking at the Big Dipper on the way to work. So besides seeing dead deer on the side of the road, because then in the afternoon when I can see stuff, but I've seen a bicycle, okay, like a nice bicycle, like on the next to the guardrail on the speed part of it, an entire lazy boy, you know, lazy boy chair. And I saw something else that was very strange. I can't remember what it was right now. It wasn't the usual, just like a mattress or whatever. You know, that's typical. So what strange things have you seen on the side of the road this year?
For me,
I
it
saw a
wasn't on a
camel.
motorcycle. What?
Okay, I was telling this guy before he came down here. I was like, "Here's what you need to be looking for." And you know, I was talking about road surface conditions and stuff for a while, and he's asked about. Okay, well, there are exotic out here as well, but I got okay. So we started getting into the wildlife. All right, armadillo, porcupines, aggressive wild hogs.
True.
And they will chase you down until you are dead. They are not prey. You are prey. All right. So wild hogs, porcupines, armadillos, roadrunners are kind of small, and they're adorable, by the way. They're pretty cool. The deer are.
There's an O at the end of armadillo.
You're on. Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
But it's called Illinois.
Illinois as well.
It's Illinois.
The deer are like Great Danes. They really don't get that big because the diet's weird, and they look at you like they're cattle.
I know. I mean.
Oh, longhorns. If you like riding a motorcycle and playing limbo at the same time, just open cattle country. You know, open cattle, and then you find a longhorn.
Are you like really going chin over wrist on that one?
Bob Oakes did. Bob Oakes went chin over wrist to duck underneath the 10-foot horn of a longhorn open cattle country thing. So
Bob Oakes is not a small gentleman.
He's a big dude, and I put him on a Hawk GT.
Oh my God.
I saw a pet peacock on a ride this year, and maybe I said this on a different version of this meeting, but I didn't even know that there was such a thing as pet peacocks, much less that they could live in Minnesota. And the first time I saw it, I was like, that looks like a peacock.
I saw a peacock as well. Me too. That's so weird.
I had to look it up on the internet.
I always
And
get
then the weirdest thing I've seen
chuckle
actually,
anytime I see a
like,
chicken crossing a road.
Did it get to the other side? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
So, anything besides animals? What other strange things have you seen on the side of the road besides animals?
I mean, other than Harleys?
The trailer. This actually happened at the end of last year. It had a trailer had two of these gigantic pumpkins. You know, the ones that are like 7 feet across. That somebody do for a competition.
Oh yeah,
that caught my attention.
Okay, I saw also a boat not on its trailer. So I saw the trailer on the road pointing the wrong way, and the boat in the ditch on the other side of the road. Like, you know, so it was like a boat trailer spin gone badly.
Terrifying.
And I just missed
Think
it.
how that
Yeah.
would have gone if you were on a motorcycle behind that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got there right, like the tow
enough.
trucks weren't even there yet. So I went by and I thought,
Crazy thing I've seen combine coming around a blind turn.
What?
Combine. Combine.
oh, that's not good. That's a farm thing, right? That's a farm equipment thing? Okay.
So from where I work now to where home to work is an hour between Illinois and Wisconsin. Blind turn, coming up over the crest. And this is late at night. Blind curve, combine, whole road.
Was he chin over wrist?
Was it chin over wrist or was he?
No, it was a combine chin over wrist.
Yes, the combine was chin over wrist. I think he, yeah.
I don't know what that means. Chin over wrist?
I don't think it means anything when they're talking about a combine.
Yes, it does. If you're ARC certified, you know what it means.
Okay.
So Mike will be the rider. I'll be the describer. Chin over wrist is a technique used in high speed. You know, if you're taking a curve, instead of pressing to initiate lean and do that, you bring your chin. You go over to kiss the mirror, as some would call it. But basically, chin over wrist is you literally are going diagonally towards your mirror in the turn.
Okay.
Isn't that also has to do with the ARC class, advanced rider course?
Sort of, yeah.
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 Introduced to the advanced course.
Those of us that are ARC certified would know that.
I mean, we're both ARC certified.
Barely ARC certified.
Barely. I cut.
Are you barely certified or barely ARC certified?
I barely power walk through a turn. Barely power walk through a turn.
and
On a three-wheeler.
I don't have any comment.
It's not uncommon because you get into the southern tier around here to find a horse and buggy as you come around the bend. The more interesting one is when you see one horse and buggy overtaking another horse and buggy, and you're coming up on it, and you're coming up on a motorcycle at not horse and buggy speed.
We actually have a lot of Amish around where I live, and I really enjoy watching them plow their fields and cut their hay. They'll have 4 or 5 horses, hooked up to whatever their machinery is, and it's all under horsepower, and it's really cool to watch.
Are their buggy horses the same? Are the buggy horses that I see, what Mike just described, are those the same horses that they use in field work then, or are there different horses for that?
The ones that I've seen in the field are not the buggy horses. They are, I don't know the breed, but they're more robust, big, stockier plow horse type animals.
Draft horses for field work. And more like Tennessee walkers for buggies.
Our supermarket has a hitching post for when the Amish come to town. They got a place to put their buggies.
So the stuff that you see on the road to let you know there were buggies in the area is Amish exhaust.
I call them Amish droppings. And when they're fresh, they are slippery. And you can fling them at the person if they're following too closely behind you.
I always thought they were called road apples.
No, because you can actually go by orchards here and find apples on the road.
So Claire, I that's a good question about what you've seen on the side of the road, but what these guys are talking about, it's an even interesting question is, what are some of the things you've had to swerve around, right? What are some of the things
I'd say,
that you come up in the road?
A turtle, I swerved around turtles, yeah. And a dead porcupine, because the porcupine quills will go right in your tires. You know that, right? It will make your tire flat. They will go right in. You have to pull them out after.
We don't have porcupines in Alabama that I know of that I've never. Now armadillo, I've definitely speed bumped a couple of those, but
yeah.
Right.
No, I've swerved around turtles, and random furniture in the road, random objects. There's a lot of boats up here, a lot of boats, so people will drop things, fly out of boats like coolers or cushions or personal flotation devices, all kinds of stuff, fishing poles, whatever.
My partner Louise was a New York City police detective, and when we moved upstate, she got a job briefly as a police dispatcher. And her very first call on her first night at work as a police dispatcher, someone calls 911 to report that there was a turtle crossing the road. Naturally, she thought this was a joke being played on her by the other people, because in New York City, a turtle crossing the road is not an emergency. And she said, and the emergency is? And they said, you don't understand, there's a turtle crossing the road. She's like, well, I don't know, maybe you could help it along with a stick or something. But legit, that was the first call. So now every time we see a turtle crossing the road, it's like, quick, call 911. There's a turtle crossing the street.
I was helping my sponsor friend. He has a pretty active 3-wheel program, and he had to recycle all of his Rikers. So we were bringing 2 of them. I was riding one, he was riding the other. on a busy Houston freeway under construction with no shoulders, 3 lanes, 80 miles an hour, and it died graveyard dead in the middle of the lane. He was the obstacle.
So he was literally just sitting there on a fully immobile blockade of a machine.
He jumped over the barrier and got off the road, and nobody hit it. They actually came and picked it up, but he was the barrier. He was what everybody was swerving around.
Like a tri-glide.
He's asking if it's a Can-Am or a Tri-Glide.
A Can-Am.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was a Riker. Do Rikers go into limp mode like spiders do?
I don't know. He said there was some wiring problem that wasn't wired correctly or something.
It seems there are an awful lot of things you can do to spiders that cause them to be forced into limp mode. Like, you know, if you throw them in reverse and try spinning donuts with them, that seems to make them unhappy.
I'm not familiar with that term. What is limp mode?
If the machine, if something's happening that makes the machine unhappy, it shuts most everything down and it'll only go like 20 miles an hour so you can limp home.
Oh.
I know this bike. So it's got the cantilever suspension. This is the R1200C. It was the BMW Cruiser.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. You're looking at my bike.
The cantilever suspension. Which
I was trying to share pictures, but I didn't think I would take it over. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does. I found this out the hard way the other. Thank you.
Oh, look, there's another one.
This is
It's lovely, New Hampshire.
Nice.
We all should.
I was going to just say that I think limp mode is a really bad name for anything. Can I just add that? I think limp mode is a very bad name for anything.
Well, now Dawn's going to have to edit that out.
I got a white wall by accident. Long story.
Okay. I love the sound of my own voice, so I'm going to tell my story now. Riding Chicago to Portland, we were somewhere in Nebraska, and there was a flatbed full of particle board, and one sheet got loose, just one, and it shot up in the air many feet. I don't know. I can't judge feet well. But it was
Is this the one that I like surmounted?
No, this was me and Travitron.
Oh, you and Travitron?
Yeah, so me and Travis Burleson are heading all the way to Portland, and it goes straight up in the air. And its particle board it's paper. It's just board that's glued together with Gorilla Tape. I don't know, but it goes straight up in the air.
It's sawdust.
And it just so that Nebraska crosswind. It found that point where the crosswinds were fighting each other and it got caught in the mix and like caught the beer bottle in the head. The whole board just detonated in the sky. And so all these shards of wood, little bitty shards of wood are just shooting down like bullets out of the sky. And we had to like, I want to say we went over and exaggerate the story, went over to the freaking oncoming lane of the expressway, but no, that was an unavoidable pucker moment. They talk about a variety of factors, multiple factors. Yeah, well, this was too many factors simultaneously raining out of the sky like terror. Yeah, we swerved around that.
Are we talking pucker moments?
Maybe.
Article boards, scary. Yeah, that's a bad thing to have to swerve around.
How about dive bombing birds? And why do they do that?
Yeah, I watched a hawk dive bomb my husband's head.
I took a pigeon full to the chest. Does that count? I thought it broke my collarbone.
I can't. I mean,
pigeons are big.
Even a little
pigeons are big. That's.
All right, Mike, talk.
All right, so are we talking about things that we had to swerve around?
Yeah.
Okay. So if that's a nod, last time I had to do a swerve, those that are familiar with Chicago, if you're traveling southbound on 294, Usually it backs up around the 190-90 interchange. I was up north towards Gulf Road.
These fries are nuclear.
Yes, they are. I was in the far left lane and keeping up with traffic. You figure out what traffic does on the expressway if you've ever traveled on it before. I got an F-150 in front of me. Went to the brakes. My brain said, nope, not going to happen. Off the brakes, cleared it, into the shoulder, back onto the brakes. By the time I came to my full dead stop, I was looking at the driver of the F-150. On a bike that I've never ridden before.
What bike?
It was a Ninja 650 that had been lowered.
Ah,
You remember the blue one?
yes, that was a terrible machine.
It was an amazing machine.
It was a terrible machine. You don't lower a Ninja 650 and then put clip-ons on top of the triple trees.
Yeah, it wasn't for me.
This is not my story, but one of the coaches I used to teach with, before he was a coach, his club went to take an ERC back in the day. This is, 30 years ago. And after their ERC, the club is riding back from the ERC, and a vehicle ahead of them is carrying a mattress and a box spring on the roof. And they broke free and they flew out towards the group. And he was in the lead, and he swerved around the mattress and he surmounted the box spring and managed to keep it all under control. And he looked back, and the whole club had straightened and braked and done the quick stop and a turn. And he was like, well, that was really cool. And that's what made him decide to become an instructor, because he thought, wow, just something I learned this morning, I got to use this afternoon, and it worked awesome. So.
Hey, Lynn, was that in New York?
Yes, it was.
So that's funny because when we were, oh gosh, I don't know, probably 13, 14 years old, maybe, or something. The last really, really big trip my parents and I took with my sister was we went to Niagara Falls, and we were coming through New York, and a freaking mattress flew off the top of somebody's car. I'm like, why do you have a mattress on top of your car? But I'm like, get a pickup truck. But yes, that is so crazy because we were coming through. This is the only time I've ever drove through. Well, I didn't drive through New York, and a mattress flies off the top of a car. So they need to find better ways to secure them up there.
Wouldn't it be crazy if it were the same mattress?
Oh my gosh. Look, I've got plenty of redneck in my family and in myself. I can come and teach them how to tie crap to the top of the car. That's what we do as rednecks. Is we tie things down.
Can you tie an alligator to the top of a car?
Seen it. I am not kidding you. I mean, Kelly, you're close enough to Louisiana down in Houston. You've seen that craziness. I know you.
Dead or alive?
Oh my gosh. Oh no, it was dead. And so, oh no, deer. Oh, those deer that you guys are talking about not hitting. I mean, they think they purposely hit them down here so they can strap them and take them home. I mean, y'all, I've seen some crazy stuff tied down to pickup trucks and the cars. Like I said, we are like, I say we, and I put myself in that because I have tied some crazy stuff to a pickup truck and piled on some major stuff. And I mean, queen of bungee cords here, guys. I can load down a motorcycle.
Well, Melinda, are you in the city? Are you getting like city deer and that kind of thing?
No, no. I'm a country girl. I live out in the country, and so I guess Tuscaloosa, because I live between Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, and so it's all country roads, and so yeah. And like I said, I grew up on the back roads of Louisiana and Alabama, and so there are deer everywhere. We learned at a very early age to dodge deer, them big old scary ones.
No,
there we go.
There you go.
I'm live. I'm live. So, Linda, what state are you actually from?
He's new. Sorry,
Yeah,
Mike Dunn, RiderCoach, new.
No, that's okay. So I grew up in Louisiana. I'm in Alabama right now. I've lived in Alabama, probably about. So I'm kind of like I said, I'm a Cajun Alabamian. So I grew up in the south of Louisiana, and then we moved to Alabama when I was probably about 15. And then I spent every summer in Mississippi. So anywhere along
I've sworn on this thing so many times, you have no idea.
So like, how big are the deer you're dealing with? Because it's like, when Robin talked to me about some of the deer out here in Texas, I'm expecting like a northern whitetail. So,
and we get these baby moose that are north in Wisconsin area. They're just born into being a moose,
like an elk. Out here, those deer are about the size of a Great Dane.
I'm gonna sing back up. Great Dane.
Great Dane.
Keep going.
The Dane of the Dane.
Keep going.
Mute.
Oh, I got to mute. Okay.
So it's according to how many points are on the top. I mean, that's always the big thing. So you can go anywhere. Some of the fawn, the little ones, because they're lean lean deer here. They're not big, like the big scary ones from up you. Like these are nice lean ones that target your car and target your motorcycle, and they wait for you, and they all just sit right there on the side of the interstate. And so I mean, you can anywhere from a buck to a doe to a forward fawn that follow behind. It's kind of like watching copiers go through. If one comes through, you literally, like the book says, you need to stop because there are more coming.
And what's amazing is that they leave the road and they take 2 steps and they're gone. They're disappeared into the portal. They just vanish. They camouflage so well. It's like Stargate or something. They're just gone.
Here's a fantastically obscure reference, Lynn.
I had a friend was asking me, well, how come people hit I hit the deer? I've hit several in my car since I've lived upstate, and it's partly because I drive at all kinds of stupid times a day, and there's just deer all over the place, and 20,000 miles a year the deer happen, and it kind of comes down to that total stopping distance. If you're going 50 and it's going to take you 200 and something feet to stop, if the deer run out at the 100-foot mark, you're hitting the deer, and you just really can't get around it.
No comment.
Most of the time they're running into you rather than you hitting them.
That actually helps. Keep talking. I like where you're going with it.
They emerge out of the ditches, and by the time you've seen them, you're past the point where you can stop for them, and they're on you.
I think they're taking out classified ads for like hitman style. They're looking for you specifically the night before.
I find them terrifying. I mean, I really try not to ride my bike at those times of day where I expect them to be active, and on those roads when I expect them to be active. I actually change my route, based on where I think the deer are more likely to be, because I see them all over the place. They're a menace.
I saw someone a meme earlier today. It said, as a picture of a deer, and it said, "How can you eat these beautiful animals?" And someone says, "Are you asking for a recipe?"
Hell yes. Well, there's all kinds of burgers.
Yeah, it's hunting season down here, and it's definitely bow season, and so they're out, and they're everywhere, and so this is what they are. I mean, they're, like you said, but they're in the cities now too. I mean, they're everywhere because we're taking, we take over their land. They're not going to leave. I mean, they have nowhere else to go. I had someone made a comment one time about people that get bitten by a shark, and they remind them, say that's their natural habitat. It's not yours, So if you get bit by a shark, it's your own fault. Same thing with deer. If they're in the cities now, it's because we've taken over their area, and so they're going to come after us.
One of my coaches hunts, and he tries to get a deer each year, and so he helps me out sometimes with the maintenance on the bikes. And a couple of years ago, we were going to be changing oil one day, and he says, "I'll bring lunch." And I'm thinking, oh, great. And usually we share a sandwich or something. He brought his little Pullman stove and a little table, and he cooked up venison steaks, and he made a salad. It was really kind of high end, us sitting in the parking lot having having a fancy lunch of venison and salad while we changed oil on the bikes. It was pretty cool.
What was the salad for?
Roughage.
So one of the things down here with so I think my daughter's boyfriend hunts, so of course we're all like, hey, one of those are going to be ours. But one of the things I love is we have a deer processing place down the street from us, and you can put your name on a list, and if somebody comes and drops deer off and they don't pick it up, they put it like so you can't buy deer meat, and you know it's illegal to buy deer meat, and because you just can't. And but you can pay the processing fee. So it's kind of like you're not allowed to buy turtles, but you can buy a cage or like a aquarium that has a turtle in it. So you're paying for the aquarium. So you can pay the processing fee, and you can put your name on a list. If someone doesn't come and pay their processing fee, then you can pay it, and you can just get a freezer full of deer meat. And so we have a place down the street that does that. And so come about the mid of January, really, January, you know, you can put your name on a list, and if people that come and drop their deer off and they don't pick them up, you can buy it from them.
Can you make boudin out of venison?
You can, if you want to. Yep, it's a meat, but it's lean. It's very lean. You got to add fat to it, and so now my husband makes a mean, like it's the only thing jambalaya, which is funny that my Yankee husband cooks better jambalaya than I do. Oh goodness, deer meat. It's cube steak, so and it's made into cube steak style, and he that's the only thing fried I eat.
I think Lara should have had her camera pointed at whatever she's fixing. Looks like she's cooking something in the kitchen there. We could have had a cooking show this whole time.
It's boring. I'm making bread, so it's mostly just like waiting around and a little futzing here and there.
Lynn mentioned something about speed, and I watched a video conference recently, and they showed a video from Australia that I thought was really powerful, made the point well of the difference of, I don't remember what the speeds were, but 5 kilometers an hour slower, which is only 3 miles an hour slower, and how much difference it makes in how fast you're going if you get on the brakes by the time your stopping distance, and how fast you're still going if you hit something.
So why are people so reluctant to slow down? Because, you know, sometimes I see it's almost like the worse the conditions are, the faster people go. What's up with that? I especially notice it in the fog. I'll be riding along or driving along, and I'll be conscious of how far ahead I can see. And there'll be people passing me, and I'm like, what do you have, your x-ray glasses on? I don't understand this. What's going on here?
I think it's a lack of education, lack of understanding of the difference.
Actually, I think it's because you've lost the references along the side of the road that are going by, and since you don't have those for reference for your speed anymore, you lose a sense of how fast you're actually going. This is also one of the reasons that they, on the interstates, for example, they tend to cut the foliage back more. That's to eliminate the feeling that you're going so fast. Where on the secondary roads, they don't cut it back as far, and you feel like you're going faster than you would be if you were on the interstate, just based on where that foliage happens to be located.
I think that the lines actually have an effect on that too, the way that they paint the lines on the road, if it's a divided road. I mean, you know, sometimes the lines are longer or slower. It's like, how, I don't know, this feels slow because there's a long painted line going.
You're referring to the dashed lines.
Yes. Did you already say that? And I'm just stepping up with Jen saying it again.
No, not really. You know, I think one of the other factors too is you know, how faded, for example, the fog line might be. If the fog line is nice and bright and you can see it real close, it's going to give you a different sense of speed than if the fog line has been, you know, faded over time. Fog line being the white line that's on the side of the road.
Can you elaborate on the fog line for Mike here? Is the fog line the outer barrier or the proximity?
Inner.
It's the edge of the road surface. There may be 4 to 6 inches of pavement on the other side of the fog line.
It's the edge of the road surface, Mike.
It's the don't go.
So it's the white line.
It's probably the line just before, if you're on the interstate, just before you get to the rumble strip.
Oh, yeah.
So it's your
The drunk bump side of this side of the road.
There's 3 of us here now.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know if you've noticed, there's never the rumble strip when you get to the bridge. They eliminate the rumble strip. You have to have at least 5 feet of runoff past the rumble strip. If there's less than 5 feet, they don't put a rumble strip in.
Does anybody remember what state it is where when you drive, it plays music on the rumble strips while you're going down
That was somewhere in the Southwest. I want to say Texas. I could be wrong, but it was definitely in the Southwest part of the country.
I just really want to start, as a musician, I really want to start from zero and get faster and faster and faster and hear that keep on changing half steps and get quicker and quicker, like straight out of Bugs Bunny. I really want to do that. Why don't they do that? They need to do that at Road America, Rita.
Yeah, because I'm sure that keeps people from driving on them.
Hey, John, I would love to hear, like, that sounds like to me like your 3-minute thing, because I had no idea that's what it was called, was a fog line. Like, I had no idea. That I would love to hear more about the like road design, things like that, because, and I had no idea about the foliage. And so that's really cool. And my husband even works for the DOT and I had no idea about that. So I would love to hear, like, that would totally be your 3-minute thesis.
If I was going to do a 3-minute thesis, it'd probably be why you shouldn't have 4-way stops.
Oh, praise Jesus. Praise Jesus.
Hey, Robin, it's in New Mexico. I just looked it up. So I was close.
Then I'm going to check that out. I will I will report properly as soon as I am there. And yeah, John, I want to hear, I want 3 minutes on why we shouldn't have 4-way stops. I insist that you do this. I might even throw money in the pot. It'll be Monopoly money, but I'll do my best. First, I need to buy a game of Monopoly. Do you have $10 so I can buy a game of Monopoly?
So I did get a ticket at a 4-way stop sign maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And it was a brand new 4-way stop. And when they installed it, they really screwed up the installation such that they put the stop sign and the stop line 20 some odd feet back from the intersection. So after making a legitimate stop, I could get going pretty fast before I got to the intersection. So the cop that wrote the ticket, he didn't actually see the stop. He couldn't, because from his perspective, I was on the other side of a stone wall. So he couldn't see the legal stop. The real issue with this particular 4-way stop was that further down the road, and this is one of the issues, people go faster after the 4-way stop than they normally would have to make up the time they lost. And right at the point where they were going to hit the highest speeds, was a daycare center. It was a really stupid place to do this. And legally they couldn't do it because they didn't have the required traffic counts at that intersection to validate or meet the warrant for a 4-way stop. So eventually they did take them down. It just didn't make sense for them to be there. It's unfortunate, but what happens is people want the 4-way stop because they think it's going to slow traffic down near their house. So they go to the selectmen go to, in this case, the traffic committee, which was the chief of police, the fire chief, the DPW commissioner, can't remember who the fourth one was, but they all thought it was a grand idea. So they recommended to the selectmen that they put in a four-way stop. It didn't really make sense.
John, are you in Boston?
I'm 40 miles west. Why, you looking at the accent kind of like Josh?
I just barely caught at the end there. I'm listening carefully. I'm listening so carefully that yes, I did detect it.
Yeah, I'm in Fitchburg, Mass. I'm like 40 miles west on Route 2, which is one of the two main arteries that go east-west across Mass. 90
Nice.
is actually 90 and 10 as well. US 10, Interstate 90, and Route 2 is a state road that goes all the way out to Troy, New
Yeah.
York.
I mean, numbers are hard, but the point is you're in Massachusetts and somewhere there's a four-way stop that needs to be taken down and you're the man to do it, my friend. Did they take it down yet?
By the way, I beat that ticket. I showed up in court with pictures showing that where the cop was, he couldn't see over the stone wall to see my legal stop.
All right, yeah, you seem like a data-driven guy, so you probably rolled into with a lot of just like, here's the math, here's the angle, here's the geometry. Why don't you guys go ahead and pay me back for my time? I only charge yada yada an hour for me having to be here later.
Yeah, I'm also a member of the National Motors Association. So stuff about speeding, traffic stops, road design, kind of big into that kind of stuff.
What is your career profession?
So after I got out of the military, I spent 40 years working for a defense contractor, and initially started working there as a mechanical assembler. And by the time I finished, I was working as a senior software engineer. And in working as a senior software engineer, I basically worked on stuff like E2C, the Navy AWACS, the mission computer for that. And after that, mostly air traffic control. So ATC programs.
Okay.
I'm old. I'm
So,
68, so I retired 3 years ago.
Have you ever had a thing?
A thing? You mean the car?
I don't know if he was on when Dennis was talking about that thing. Sometimes you got to do a thing.
No, I was thinking of the movie Pushing Tin.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, so you work traffic control, or did, yeah?
No,
Air traffic?
control, airplanes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, there was a movie called Pushing Tin, and I'm realizing that
where they stood at the end of the runway and got blown over by the 747 coming in for a landing.
Yes, that's pretty much the whole movie, actually. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot, man. You go
Why,
ahead.
you haven't seen the ending?
No.
No, so we basically wrote the software, and air traffic control these days is what they refer to as commercial off the shelf. So they're buying the same computers you or I would, but those computers go end of life inside of 18 months. So we're constantly having to retest, or we were constantly having to retest and come up with replacement equipment that meets all of the requirements, while at the same time doesn't go crazy on cost. Whatever.
Well, I don't know. So John, I actually was talking to a friend. I will be, thank you for getting rid of that four-way stop, because I'll be coming up that way, hopefully in July. Our Motor Maid Sisters, that's where our convention is in that area, in the Springfield area of your state. And so thank you for getting rid of that, because you guys,
Another 75 miles west of me.
yeah, so come July, you'll have 200-300 women riders coming through your state, or staying in your state. So we're looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, I say Springfield is quite a bit further west. I did used to teach out in Westfield at times. So that was like for me, 85 miles to get to the class, 85 miles home every day. I haven't taught out there in a long time. But whatever, enjoy yourself when you get here.
We're looking forward to it. We really are. The poor ladies, though, when they came down here a couple of years ago, we had our convention down here. we try to warn everybody about the humidity. And when they come off those bikes, and they rolled up into Alabama and they come off those bikes, they were like, oh my gosh. And so I think we're looking forward to having a very different summer. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the only times I've been to Alabama when I did my summer camps when I was in the National Guard, say 72, 73, 74, the unit that we got our equipment from, we would go to Tyndall Air Force Base and drive the equipment down from Dothan, Alabama.
My daughter went to college for a semester near that place. It's really cool.
Yeah. A lot of mountains down there. A lot of people don't realize how much mountains and how much timber there is in Alabama. Alabama, Georgia, a lot of timber. Right along with Vermont and New Hampshire. Maine, a lot of timber.
Lots of trees to run into. So we've seen them.
Just watch for moose. There are now probably about 200 to 300 moose in Mass.
See, I think that's what earlier when Robin was talking about that, I was very disappointed when I went out to Colorado recently and I didn't get to see any elk or anything like that, because I've never seen any big animals like that. So hopefully we'll get to see something.
Summertime like that, you may not see much. Same thing, elk is kind of funny. In Colorado, I did see elk, but they were all cows. I think the bulls only come down from the higher elevations when it's breeding season. I think the cows I saw was Estes Park. There was a good Indian museum in Springfield. Indian Museum is there. So is the basketball museum. I believe it's the last engineering building. Last time I was there, that's where they housed it. And much more than Indian, they had quite a few antique Aces and Hendersons, Belsiers, yeah, all that stuff. I don't know if they still have Indian Day. Indian Day used to be third Sunday in July at the museum. And a lot of people would come there basically for flea market, get parts for their bikes that they needed for completing restorations. Yeah, that's worth checking out if you're traveling up from Alabama. Yeah, that's not far away. It's pretty close to the interstate too, now that I think about it.
Well, if you guys ever get down this way, speaking of museums, motorcycle museums, if you ever do get a chance to come down and see Barber's, that's a really great one. You get a chance. I don't know. I think Laura, you said you came down and trained down here. Did you get a chance to go to see it when you were here?
I don't think I've ever spent time in Alabama.
Oh, I thought you were the one that said you trained with Rick down here, or did Rick train you?
The Barber Museum is amazing. It's kind of like, it's like when you watch people see the Grand Canyon, they walk in and their mouths drop open when they get off the tour bus. Just watch people walking into the door of the Barber Museum and their mouths drop open because they can't believe what they're seeing. It's really awesome.
It really is. It's like walking into a giant Matchbox car. You know how like the people that collect the little Matchbox motorcycles, and then of course the lower level are his cars. It's like walking into that and one of those, like a giant one. And it really, it's like walking into Disney World for the first time. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. And you just look up and there's 5 levels, I think, 4?
5.
Was it 5? And I mean, you just spend all day. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah.
It's kind of weird because I think the ground level in the back where you enter is level 3, and level 1, 3, and 5 are towards that end of the building, and 2 and 4 I think are facing the racetrack.
Yeah. It's really neat. Like I said, the first time I've ever been, it was just really cool. And so it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like when people would come visit us in the little bit of time we were in Minnesota, everybody's gonna come to the Mall of America. Well, if anybody comes that rides motorcycles, of course we have to take them over there to see it. And of course the road riding up there to it is fun. You know, they have the little road that takes you up there, and the Fast Pro and all that too. But yeah, if you ever get a chance, if you're ever in the area to go see it, or if you're down here, give me a call and we'll go down there and see it.
Yeah, you got to see the bug sculptures, the ants on the backside, the ones that are holding the riders that crashed. Don't remember those, huh?
Yeah, well, so the guy that also that owns that, he also has the big sculptures down in Gulf Shores. So he owns the ones that are in the big lake down there. There's a bunch of things. He owns a lot of that. But yeah, he's the art that he's collected in their area. That family is put so much into our area, our culture, and it's been really great.
Yeah, I think, coming to think of it, we did go there in 2009 for Vintage Days, I think, which was like September or October.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they had through the course of it, of course, you had the big flea market, motorcycle auction, antique motorcycle auction, and you had you actually had trials riding out in the woods. Plus, I think
it's really cool. I haven't had I haven't had an opportunity to ride the track yet. But the track is really neat. I mean, just to be able to watch now Porsche days, because you know they have like Porsche days out there where you can rent track time.
Yep.
And like your group can get together or what have you, and then they have open days, and just going and watching the people in their Porsche are really cool.
I'm thinking, isn't there somebody doing racing training there? Used to be a Honda factory rider.
I don't know, because I mean there are plenty of other. I mean, there's the the other groups, and so unless they're state MSF or the Harley, I don't know any other groups that are doing trainings in our state.
Yeah, I think Kevin Schwantz has a race school there.
That is very good to know.
He used to be at Road Atlanta.
He could be teaching in both places. I know he was there in 2009 when I was there. They were doing classes there. Of course, he was wasn't he a Honda factory rider in the 80s?
I was schooling at Road Atlanta in 2006, maybe 2005, and it was all Suzuki at that point.
It's after 9 o'clock. I need to go watch SWAT with my wife.
Yeah, I gotta go put the little ones in. You're talking about the 80s. I'm like, that's definitely not my. I'm a little bit younger for that. But so I still have babies. I have to go put in the bed. So you guys have a good night, okay?
Yeah. Hey, Belinda, everybody, you rock. And later, y'all. Mike Dunn, first timer here. We're out. Glad I could contribute pretty much nothing. I'll catch y'all later.
I did nothing. I just looked pretty. Good job.
Happy hour. Later, y'all.